We continue now with our theme of highlights from Talkback. This is installment 40. In our last installment, installment 39, I detoured and talked about Android Accessibility Suite 13.0, which came bundled with Android 13 Beta 3. Today, however, I am returning to what I started back in installment 37, and that was when we got started with the three-finger gestures and stopping at installment 38 with installment 39 looking at the new Android Accessibility Suite that was bundled with Android 13 Beta 3. I will now continue from here, going back to looking at the three-finger gestures found in Talkback. For today's demonstration, I'll be using my Pixel 6 Pro running Android 13 Beta 3.2. I am on my home screen and using three fingers now, we'll tap to activate the Talkback menu.
Talkback menu. Actions in list.
I am in the Talkback menu. The next item I want to tap on will be the Talkback settings.
Talkback settings.
Here is Talkback settings, and I'll tap here to activate.
Talkback settings. Navigate up button out of list.
If you've been following us in these Talkback installments, this is when we will now scroll down the page, and you scroll down vertical screens or vertical pages by putting two fingers in the middle of the phone and gliding the fingers upwards, and that in turn scrolls down your page. I'll now put two fingers in the middle, glide up, and scroll down the page.
Showing items 7 to 18 of 18.
The next item I'm looking for here is an item that talks about customization of the gestures. Thus, I'm looking for Customize Gestures.
Customize gestures. Customize gestures out of list.
I am now on the customization page of the gestures. It's now time to switch our granularity to the headings mode. In other words, it's time to switch our mode. So if you are in character mode, lines mode, or word mode, this time is to switch to the headings granularity or the headings mode. As I've said again and again, we have one of three methods with which we could use in changing those modes or those granularities. I personally prefer using the up-down scrubbing with one finger in one fluid movement to change my granularities. You may, however, happen to be one of those that would rather swipe down with their three fingers or swipe from left to right or right to left with three fingers to change your granularities. I believe that my granularity is already in the headings mode, and now all that we need to do, whether you use the one finger, three finger, or whatever, now is the time to swipe down with one finger and keep doing so until it says headings, three fingers gestures. So I'll now swipe down.
One finger heading in list.
As one finger, swipe down again.
One finger back and forth heading.
Keep going.
One finger angle heading. Showing items 7 to 17 of 51.
Swipe down.
Two fingers heading. Showing items 17 to 26 of 51.
And here comes what we're looking for.
Three fingers heading.
There is our three fingers heading. And the last thing we saw under this heading was the second item. Here are the items I'm talking about. The first one will be
tap with three fingers, open Talkback menu.
We saw that in installment 37, and the last one we saw within this heading was
tap and hold with three fingers, screen search.
That was the screen search in installment 38. Now the one we're going to will be the double tapping with three fingers for copying.
Double tap with three fingers, copy.
Double tap with three fingers to copy. I do want to mention here in passing, though, that while you are on a web page, for example, something that didn't used to be, if you have a text block in place and you're reading that text block, you should be able to double tap with three fingers and it should be able to copy. Although this is best used when you are in an edit field, But this tells us that we're getting closer to that selective selection and copying within a web page. I will now navigate to a web page and show you what I'm talking about. Then we'll come back here and talk about the fact that you can change this if you prefer to use this to copy the last spoken phrase. I'm saying this because we now have the ability to assign a gesture to the last spoken phrase, so you don't have to navigate to the Talkback menu and tap on Copy Last Spoken Phrase. I'll now navigate to my home screen, go tap on my browser, and go find some article or something of that nature and see if we could copy.
Home, out of list.
I am back home. I'm going to tap on my browser's folder.
Folder, browsers, 4 or more items.
I'll tap here and go tap on Chrome.
Chrome.
Here's Chrome, and I'll double tap.
Chrome, 22%. Google's next Nest Wi-Fi router might add Wi-Fi 6 and simplify
I just waved my hand over the proximity sensor and silenced it. I'm going to scroll down and put my finger down somewhere that I know there's some text. And here I go. I'll put my finger down here.
Google's upcoming mesh Wi-Fi system will use a Google Wi-Fi-like hardware configuration. That means every node in the system has the same hardware, with no difference between the primary router and satellite units. On the recent Nest Wi-Fi, the satellite nodes and base were physically different hardware and couldn't be used interchangeably. It's a subtle difference, but it makes it easier to set things up and expand your network later on. If all the hardware is the same, picking up an extra node to extend your network's range is simple and doesn't require you to go out of your way to buy a specific version, and you may not need to worry about which you plug in.
I just waved my hand over the proximity sensor to silence it, and that was an article from the Android Police. Now I'll double tap with 3 fingers to copy, even though I'm on a web page. Here I go.
Copied. Google's upcoming mesh Wi-Fi system will use a Google Wi-Fi-like hardware configuration. That means every node in the system has the same hardware, with no difference between the primary router and satellite units. On the recent Nest Wi-Fi,
there we are. So that article, or that portion of the article, has been copied. And like I said earlier, we're getting closer to being able to selectively select something and then copy. But for now, this will do. And I'll now navigate my way to the Google Keep Notes and paste it. I'll now call upon the assistant and tell it to bring up Keep Notes. Keep Notes.
Keep Notes. New list.
Here is Keep Notes, and I'll tap on New Text.
New text note button out of list.
Here we go.
Editing note edit box for note body in list.
And I believe that I have what was copied on my clipboard. I'll put my finger above the keyboard, and there should be the article that I just copied.
Google's upcoming mesh Wi-Fi system will use a Google.
Tap there, let my finger go, and I should have it in my edit field. I'll put my finger down.
Editing. Google's upcoming mesh Wi-Fi system will use a Google Wi-Fi-like hardware configuration. That means every node in the system has the same hardware, with no difference between the primary router and satellite.
There it is. That's the portion of the article that I copied from a web page when it was reading a block of text by simply double tapping with 3 fingers to copy, which is a default. Now let's go about changing that. In other words, I have mentioned that you could change that to say, hey, copy my last spoken phrase if that's what you want, since we now have that capability. Although it does not have a default gesture of its own, you can, however, reassign some gesture that you're not using to the copying of the last spoken phrase. I'll now go back to the Talkback menu.
Talkback menu.
I'll go into Settings.
Talkback settings.
Tap. Now I'm going to go into Customize Gestures.
Customize gestures.
There's Customize Gestures. Tap here.
Customize gestures out of.
And now I'll navigate my way to the 3 fingers heading.
1 finger heading in list. 1 finger back and forth heading. 1 finger angle heading. Show 2 fingers heading. Showing item 17.
And here comes
3 fingers heading in list.
There is our 3 fingers heading. Now we need to go tap on, for example, if we wanted to change the default, which is double tapping with 3 fingers to copy, and changing it to copy last spoken phrase. And as I indicated, you could choose any of the gestures that you are not using or one that you're not frequently using. You may choose that to reassign it to the copy the last spoken phrase, but I'll show you how you go change that to some other gesture that you're not using. So what we need to do is go tap on the one that says double tap with 3 fingers to copy.
Double tap with 3 fingers, copy.
Here's double tap with 3 fingers to copy. I'll tap here.
Double tap with 3 fingers. Move cursor to end in list.
We are now on the page where we could find something to reassign it to. In this case, we want to reassign it, for example, to say copy last spoken phrase. And so that gesture of the copying of the last spoken phrase is found under text editing. So once again, you will use the navigation, the heading navigation, to get to the text editing heading. So I'll now swipe down with 1 finger until I hear text editing.
System actions, heading.
System actions.
Reading, heading.
That's reading.
Menu and controls, heading.
Swipe down.
Text editing, heading.
Here is text editing. And under text editing, we have things like
start or end selection mode. Move cursor to beginning. Move cursor to end. Select all. Checked, copy.
You heard checked, copy. That's the one that is checked.
Cut.
Cut.
Paste.
Paste.
Copy last spoken phrase.
And copy last spoken phrase. So I'm not telling you to change it to copy last spoken phrase, but I'm showing you how you would go about changing it to, say, copy the last spoken phrase. So for example, let's say it's the 1 finger angle gesture of some sort that you're not using, and you would rather change that to the copying of the last spoken phrase. Then you tap on that gesture from the gesture customization page, and then you go down to the text editing and tap on the copy last spoken phrase. And that should change it to the one that you've selected. So for example, if I tap here,
Talkback settings. Double tap with 3 fingers, copy last spoken phrase in list.
See, now mine has been changed to copying of the last spoken phrase instead of just simply double tapping with 3 fingers to copy. I'll change it back to copying with double tap with 3 fingers to copy.
Double tap with 3 fingers. Move cursor to end in list.
Now, let's see.
Other, heading. Text editing, heading. Showing items 20.
And here's text editing. And now I'll go tap on copy.
Copy.
There's my copy. I tap here.
Talkback settings. Double tap with 3 fingers, copy in list.
And I'm back to the gesture customization page where my double tapping with 3 fingers is the copying. And that concludes the double tapping with 3 fingers to copy, or you could reassign it to say copy last spoken phrase.